My life is in God's hand. He's working out His plan.
Praise be to God. We are in this pandemic period and there are some things very important for us in this period. And here we see in this period one of the important things that we should be always mindful of is whether we are doing all things according to the will of God. That is, even our going out and coming in should be according to the will of God. Every work we do should not be our own will, own ways, but strictly it should be the will of God. Why? Because when we are in the will of God, then we have the protection. When we are in the will of God, we can claim all the promises of God as ours. But at the same time, when we are found outside the will of God, we can claim none of the promises. And none of the promises will work, and God is not bound to protect us because we are found outside the will of God. So, in this period, in this dangerous period, in the period where we walk in the valley of shadow of death, what we need is the presence of God, and the presence of God will be with us when we are in the will of God. And when we are in the will of God, the presence of God will be there to protect us from every harm and danger. Praise be to God. It's for you and for me. The same law applies to you and me. If I am outside the will, I have no protection. And you outside the will, you have no protection. Praise be to God. So let's all be very, very, very careful about the will of God. Let us not be careless in this very dangerous period. This is really, we are walking in the valley of shadow of death. Oh, we need the presence of God in this valley. Praise be to God. Now, I'll quote you an example. In Deuteronomy chapter 1, from verse 42 to 45, we read there how Moses was recollecting all the past incidents and again warning the people about their errors, all what they have done against God, how defeat came in their life, how some lost their life. So in this incident, Deuteronomy chapter 1 verse 42 to 45, since the people were disqualified and God said none of them will enter into the land of Canaan, and they decided, they will do it by themselves, they will go by themselves. So in verse 42, Moses told the people not to go. Don't leave the presence of God, the will of God, the plan of God. God will not be with you. In verse 42, and the Lord said unto me, say unto them, go not up, neither fight, for I am not among you, lest you be smitten before your enemies. The Lord said unto me, Moses told the people, God told Moses, tell the people, go not up. This is not a time for you to go up. It's not a time for you to go out of the camp. You have no protection. God is saying, God, I will not be with you. When you go out from my will, from this camp, I am not with you. But you see, so I spake unto you, and you would not hear, but rebel against the commandment of the Lord, and went presumptuously up into the hill. Here, Moses said, But you do not listen. You rebel. And even presumptuously, you know very well you should not do it, and it's against the word of God, against the instruction of God, against the leading of a leader. But you rebel. And you still want to go. Have your own way. So they went. And we read in verse 44, and the Amorite which dwelled in that mountain came out against you and chased you as the beasts do, and destroyed you in Seir, even unto Hormah. The enemies came like a beast, chased them, and some were killed. And you returned and wept before the Lord, but the Lord would not hearken to your voice, nor give ear unto you, because you did it presumptuously. You did not listen to the words of Moses, your leader. Praise be to God. So here we read that how they lost the protection when they went against the plan, the will of God. God said, my presence is not with you, and they were defeated, and some lost their life. So we must be very cautious. Even when we read in Exodus 12, God told, now the angel of death will pass by. So now you apply the blood upon the lintel and two doorposts, and you must stay inside the house. If you go outside the house, you have no protection. So, when we read in Exodus chapter 12, verse 22, and you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. So, for your protection until the morning, you should not go out. In case you go out, you have no protection. So, verse 23, for the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptian, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the side post, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. God will not allow. If you are remaining in the will of God and you have a protection, and God said, I will not allow the angel of death to enter into your house. That is protection for you. Praise be to God. So in these days, for us to be always under protection of God, we must be very careful. Very, very careful. Even before you go out, pray to God. God, is it thy will for me to go out now? Pray. Ask God, God, I don't want to be outside the will. You're going out, you're coming in. Everything you do in these days must be according to the will of God, because the will of God will secure the presence of God, and the presence of God secure your protection. Praise be to God. Even Jonah, when we read in chapter 1, Jonah chapter 1 verse 3, we read there how Jonah ran away from the will of God. In Jonah chapter 1 verse 2 and 3, and was told to go to Nineveh. Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me. But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and he went down to Joppa. Praise be to God. So, going away from the will of God is going away from the presence of God, and going away from the presence of God, we are losing the protection, the blessings of the Lord. So, especially in this period of time, Oh, we have to be very, very careful. Everything must be according to the will of God. We are walking, really, truly, we are walking in the valley of shadow of death, as Psalm 23 says. The psalmist saying, I will not fear. See, you see, though I walk, in verse 4, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou art with me. If you are in the will of God, the Lord is with you. But if you are outside the will of God, you can claim all the promises in the Bible. Nothing will work for you because you are outside the will of God. There's no protection for you. So in these days, be careful. Don't simply just do what you like. Go as you like. Yes, now as you know, you have the liberty to go out. You can go to any shop, anything, but pray. Pray before you do anything. Pray. Ask God for the will of God. Let us all be found in these days in the perfect will of God and be perfectly protected for the glorious day and for His glorious kingdom. Praise be to God.